He was a billionaire at the top of the world, untouchable, unstoppable, until everything fell apart. $1 million deal he had worked on for months collapsed in front of his eyes, leaving him humiliated and desperate. The boardroom that once applauded his genius now stared in silent judgment. Pride, power, and success all vanished in a heartbeat. As he wandered the city streets, broken and lost, he stumbled into a small, quiet café, and there she was. A simple waitress with a radiant smile and eyes that saw right through him. Little did he know, this ordinary woman was about to turn his world upside down, teach him lessons no business school could, and save not just his deal, but his very soul. The boardroom was silent, suffocating, like the calm before a storm. The kind of silence that presses against your chest, making every heartbeat loud and painfully aware. Jonathan Kingsley, a man whose name had been synonymous with wealth, power, and untouchable success, sat frozen at the head of the long mahogany table. He had built an empire from scratch, had dazzled Wall Street and boardrooms across the globe, and yet, at this very moment, everything he had worked for was slipping through his perfectly manicured fingers. The $1 million deal he had been chasing for months, the one that would have cemented his legacy, had collapsed spectacularly. Numbers that were supposed to rise had fallen. Contracts that should have sealed the victory had fallen through. Investors' eyes were cold and judgmental, staring at him as if they had just witnessed a magician fail to pull a rabbit from a hat. Jonathan felt a wave of helplessness, a foreign emotion for a man who had always been in control. He had fought battles, conquered markets, and tamed storms, but this humiliation was different. It gnawed at him, not just professionally, but personally, threatening the very core of his confidence. As he left the boardroom, shoulders slumped and mind racing, Jonathan wondered how one man could fail so completely despite having every advantage imaginable. The city skyline glittered mockingly behind him, a reminder that success had a price, and failure often came when you least expected it. But sometimes life's most remarkable lessons arrive in the most unexpected forms, and for Jonathan, that lesson was about to come from someone he would never have imagined, a waitress at a small, unassuming café tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. Before I go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the idea that ordinary people can create extraordinary change, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. This story is going to show you how one small act can turn everything around. The next morning, Jonathan found himself wandering the city streets, unsure why he had ended up in this part of town. He stumbled upon the café, drawn by the warmth emanating from its tiny windows and the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee. Inside, the chatter of patrons and the hum of life was a stark contrast to the sterile, tense atmosphere of his boardroom. And there she was, Emily. A young waitress with an effortless grace, a radiant smile, and eyes that seemed to see straight into the truth of a person's soul. There was something different about her, something that hinted at courage, resilience, and wisdom that money could never buy. Jonathan watched her move with quiet efficiency, serving coffee, laughing softly with a child at a table, calming a flustered customer. There was an authenticity in her actions, a way of connecting with people that he had long forgotten in the world of spreadsheets and boardroom negotiations. He found himself inexplicably drawn to her energy, as if the universe had sent him here to find a fragment of something he had lost long ago: hope. Jonathan returned to the café the following day, and the day after that. He watched Emily interact with everyone around her, her ability to create trust and comfort striking him in ways he had never imagined. The more he observed, the more he realized how his failure in the boardroom wasn't just about the numbers or the deal. It was about losing sight of the human element, the very thing Emily seemed to understand effortlessly.
He began visiting more frequently, often lingering in the corner, notebook in hand, jotting down ideas and reflections. Slowly, he began to confide in her, telling her about the deal, the pressure, the shame, and the creeping fear that his career might never recover. Emily listened patiently, never judging, only offering insight when needed. "Sometimes," she said one afternoon, "you don't need more money or strategy. You just need to understand people, really understand them. Then everything else falls into place." Her words, simple as they were, struck Jonathan like a lightning bolt. He realized that the problem with his $1 million deal wasn't the competition or the market. It was his approach, cold, transactional, and impersonal. He had forgotten the power of connection, of empathy, of seeing the humanity behind the numbers. Jonathan decided to take a leap of faith. He shared with Emily the details of the deal he had failed to secure, and surprisingly, she offered to help. Not because she had business experience, not because she knew Wall Street, but because she had a unique way of seeing people, understanding what motivates them, what they truly value, and how to communicate in a way that resonates deeply. Together, they brainstormed, strategized, and reimagined the deal from the perspective of the people involved. Days turned into nights as they worked side by side. Jonathan had never felt such a blend of desperation and hope. Each session brought breakthroughs, insights into client motivations, fresh approaches, and creative solutions that no one in his boardroom had suggested. Emily's influence was subtle but transformative, guiding Jonathan to reconnect with the essence of negotiation: trust, respect, and understanding. The day came when Jonathan, armed with Emily's perspective, approached the same investors and clients who had turned him away. This time, he spoke not as a billionaire, not as a man desperate to recover his ego, but as someone who genuinely cared about their needs, their challenges, and their vision. The result was astonishing. The $1 million deal that had once seemed impossible now unfolded effortlessly. Clients nodding in agreement, investors impressed not by numbers alone, but by Jonathan's newfound clarity and humanity.
The deal was signed. Jonathan's company was saved, and his career, once teetering on the edge of collapse, had soared to new heights. But more importantly, Jonathan himself had changed. The humiliation of failure had forced him to confront his weaknesses, and Emily's wisdom had illuminated a path he never knew existed. He invited Emily to the corporate celebration, a grand affair where the city's elite gathered in glittering suits and gowns. She stood apart from the crowd, still humble, still quiet, yet there was a quiet pride in her eyes as she watched Jonathan accept praise and congratulations. But when Jonathan raised his glass, it wasn't to the investors or the executives, it was to her. "Emily," he said, voice steady and filled with emotion, "you didn't just help me save a deal. You reminded me what it means to be human, to care, and to connect. Without you, none of this would have been possible." Tears glistened in Emily's eyes, and in that moment the world felt right. The billionaire had been humbled, not by money, nor by failure, but by the kindness and insight of a waitress who had seen beyond his wealth to the person he truly could become. The story doesn't end with wealth, luxury, or power. It ends with the reminder that sometimes the most profound lessons come from the most unexpected people. Jonathan learned that success is hollow without compassion, and true greatness lies not in what you own, but in the lives you touch along the way. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that kindness and empathy can change everything. And before you go, comment below and let us know, have you ever met someone who changed your life in the most unexpected way? Because sometimes, just sometimes, the person you think has nothing to offer may be the one to change your world completely.